My name is Daniel, and I found out my brother had been living in my house for 6 months before I did. My daughter told like it was nothing. I'd taken emergency leave when my mother got sick, flying back 3 days early without telling anyone. My wife Priya opened the door and her face went white. You weren't supposed to come home yet, she said, and that sentence has stayed with me ever since. My daughter Zara, 8 years old, ran to hug me, then said something that stopped my heart. Uncle Sam said you'd be mad if you knew he slept in the guest room. I laughed it off until I walked upstairs and found men's shoes lined up by our closet and a razor on the sink that definitely wasn't Priya's. Who's here? It's not what you think, but it was exactly what I thought, until it wasn't. The man came out. I didn't recognize him at first, then I did. It was Priya's cousin's husband, my friend. Wait, he said, she told me you two were separated. She said you'd been gone 8 months and weren't That was the twist that knocked the air out of me. He wasn't just some man. He believed he'd been paying half the mortgage. He'd been driving Zara to school. He thought he was doing the right thing. Priya, I emailed you every week, I said. I called every Sunday. She wouldn't. I told him the marriage was already dead before you left. Marcus pulled out his phone, scrolling with dozens of them describing a husband who'd grown distant, who barely spoke to his own daughter, None of it was true. I had the actual call logs. I had the emails with timestamps. I showed him my phone, and I watched something break in his face as the story he'd believed for half a year collapsed in front of. She said you two hadn't slept in the same room in a year, he said quietly. She said Zara didn't even ask. I looked at my daughter, who had gone very still in the doorway, listening to adults use words she didn't fully understand yet. Zara, I said, did mommy tell you I wasn't coming back? She said maybe you found a new. Something in me went cold in a way anger alone doesn't explain. This wasn't a woman who'd made one bad. This was months of careful, deliberate architecture, a story built brick by brick to keep I checked our joint account that night. Marcus's contributions were there. Thousands of one that traced back to debts Priya had never told me about, gambling apps. She'd used a man's decency to bail herself out, while telling my daughter her father might not love her anymore. He didn't yell. He just packed the suitcase he'd unpacked 6 months earlier and said, I have a daughter too. I would want someone to tell me the truth. Before he left, he knelt down to Zara's level. Your dad, not for one single day. I promise you that. The custody hearing is in 3 weeks. Priya's lawyer is arguing financial desperation, a mental health crisis, a woman who panicked and let. Maybe there's truth buried in that. It doesn't undo the months my daughter spent believing her father might have abandoned her, or the fact that a man who trusted her paid to keep a house together built on a story that was never real. Marcus still calls sometimes, not for Priya, but to ask how Zara's doing in school. I don't know what to call what my wife did, either. Not fully, not yet. And I tell her yes, I just don't know yet what I'm staying inside of.